we'll get going. Okay. So today we are going to be talking about inclusive onboarding. We're just going to go over the agenda here today. We're going to go over Goodwill, our EIA program, which is what I am part of, Person First Language, which is the language that I'm going to be using today. We'll jump into inclusive onboarding, 4Cs, prepping for the first day. Don't worry if you don't know what any of these topics are, that's why we're going to be going over them. And then keep in mind, we will have an opportunity for questions at the end. So about Goodwill. So firstly, I want to briefly mention some important information about Goodwill, and that is our new Employer Inclusion Accelerator program. So Goodwill is an international organization that is committed to providing work for individuals with disabilities, as well as, keeping in mind about, recycling and, not, being mindful, I guess, is how I would say, and not adding to the landfill. You'll also see that I added our core values and purposes in here, and they are: we care and it shows, we are an amazing team, we get better and better every day, and we make a positive impact. I wanted to include that in today's presentation because we are talking about onboarding, and a great initiative that Goodwill has started is a way for staff to recognize other staff. So if myself, let's say I see another staff, showing that they care, I can write a little note and that can get added up into points and prizes. So that's a small way that you can kind of bring onboarding into your organization. Okay, so the EIA program, I am one of the employer coaches, and kind of just to briefly give you an understanding of our program is we are there to meet employers where they're at. It's about walking together, and that can be as simple as, being a soundboard for an employer to ask questions about disability. Disability can be really broad. It's an umbrella term, I like to say, and under disability, it also includes, people with anxiety or depression. And we offer a variety of different services. We're just going to jump into that. So that could be coaching for the employer. That could be as simple as, looking at your job postings and kind of changing the language there, or maybe giving some inclusive interview questions. We can also offer policy reviews. We can come in and do training. So if you have questions, if you're interested, there's no harm in reaching out. So again, this is free of charge. So please reach out. We'll have our contact info at the end, so don't worry about that. Again, I mentioned before, we were going to talk about Person First Language. This is a way to really identify a person for themselves and who they are, and not the label. So Person First Languages kind of identifies the person before the disability. So an example would be person with disability or person with autism. So that is the language that I'm going to be using today. And then we're going to jump into disability versus impairment. Again, umbrella term with disability. So that can be intellectual, developmental, physical, mental health, visual, auditorial, and other limitations. Now, on the other side of things, we want to talk about impairment. So that is more of a limitation in body function. So just keep that in mind. And now we're going to jump into a bit of what is inclusive onboarding. So inclusive onboarding is an experience that welcomes, accommodates, and supports all new employees, not just some. Why is onboarding important? So really think about this. This is the opportunity to really set that stage for that new employee. This is a great way for them to be successful in the company because you're building that foundation. So keep in mind, failure in onboarding leads to significant losses, including low productivity, low retention, and poor customer service. So with positive, strong onboarding, you've got over 70% productivity improvement, 82% in new hires, 200% increase in retention of new hires. So really keep that in mind on why onboarding should be a priority, because this is your chance, right? And really show the culture too within your organization. Inclusive onboarding, it does not have to be challenging by any means. It can be as simple as offering your onboarding package in a video format, having onboarding in the video format with a closed caption. Simple changes. And again, with the EIA program, these are things that we can work with you on and kind of just offer suggestions as we go. Another accommodation for onboarding that I think of for myself is I have a back injury. And so in the onboarding process, if you open up the dialogue for accommodations, then I even think of myself, like I mentioned, you can have a standing desk. So simple things like that, it's just opening that dialogue. So here you will see, if we know that typical onboarding can cost an average of $4,000, you'll want a strong onboarding so you spend less in the long term. So you want to start off strong. We're just going to go into some statistics here. So 69% of employees are more likely to stay with a company for 3 years if they experience a great onboarding. 58% of new hires who went through a structured onboarding were 58% more likely to stay with the organization for 3 years. And then keep in mind, 31% of new hires quit their job within the first 6 months when they experienced a negative onboarding. So again, we really want to start off strong with our new hires. Next, we're going to be jumping into the 4 C's. So there are several ways that you can kind of create an employee onboarding, but one of the most common models is to use the 4 C's. So that is compliance, culture, connection, and clarification. Don't worry, we'll be jumping into what these all mean. So first is compliance. So compliance refers to making sure the new employee's paperwork is filled out, they've been through orientation, really making sure everyone is on the same page. A great example that you could do for this is offer a checklist, including the topics for the trainings. And this is not only for the new employee, but for yourself to make sure you're on the same page. Next is clarification. This involves taking the time to make sure everyone knows what they're expected to do. So this can be also a simple email after the first day of training. I know myself, when I get a lot of information, probably half of it sticks with me. So by sending out an email of like an overview, it just helps to make sure the next day they're ready to hit the ground running. So culture. This is a great way to help the new employee understand what makes your organization unique and special. So get to know your employee, share with them your culture and the fun things that you do within your organization, and find a common overlap. And next is connection. So this is a great time to connect your new employee with your other coworkers. Maybe take them out for lunch, maybe a drink. If you have any group activities coming up, make sure to invite them. When you are connecting with coworkers outside of the work environment, it is a nice way to build a different foundation. And now we're going to just jump into, this is kind of an example of a brief onboarding outline. So obviously it's going to look different for different organizations, your needs. And again, you connect with the EIA program, we can help tailor this to you, but this is just kind of a bit of a brief outline. And then we're going to jump into a bit of like the 8 simple steps to take for your new hire to get them started on the right page. So the first thing can be notifying your team, let them know, maybe share a cool fact about this new employee, get everybody excited. Another thing you'll see here is the buddy program. It's a great way to get your new hire comfortable. And the buddy program really means setting them up with somebody that works at the organization that's been there for a fair amount of time and can kind of give them the down low. It's always nice to kind of have that. Another great thing I love is kind of sending a welcome package to get them started and just excited. We want, a new hire excited. And then I'm just going to jump into a video here. Fingers crossed you guys can hear it. So we'll get started.
Onboarding new employees can be an exciting time for a company. You are bringing in new talent, and the new employees will bring their experience, expertise, and education to enrich both their new roles and the company. Here are 5 tips for successful onboarding. Companies that fail to set expectations and provide training to all employees run the risk of violating federal laws. Companies can avoid creating a hostile and uncomfortable work environment for everyone by including diversity training as part of the onboarding process. Make sure employee policies and training clearly state that bullying will not be tolerated in the workplace. Failing to set clear expectations and consequences for workplace bullying can make employees feel unsafe or insecure in the workplace. Make sure your training program includes company-specific and industry-specific information, including things like recognizing and handling potential conflicts of interest, sexual harassment, gifts and entertainment, and Foreign Corrupt Practices Act, FCPA, violations. A team lunch can be a great way to both introduce the new employee to the rest of the team and to help build morale and connectivity among the existing team members. Also, consider using a buddy or mentor system. With this approach, the new employee has one dedicated peer or supervisor who he or she can go to with questions about the company, job, and anything else that comes up in the first few weeks or months of employment. Management interactions with new employees is a critical component of the onboarding process. Check in with the employee daily at the beginning, then weekly, and have scheduled 90 and 180-day meetings. Using these meetings as opportunities for open dialogue will do wonders for establishing trust and respect, and will lay the foundation for a long-term employer-employee relationship.
Okay, perfect. So hopefully everyone heard that. And that brings us to the end of the PowerPoint today. So please feel free to jump into the chat if you have any questions. If not, that means maybe I did my job right. So that's good. Our next presentation will be on natural supports and external supports. So that'll be on June 15th. So if you're interested, please email, sign up for that. We also have a monthly newsletter, which will go over a bit of what the PowerPoint's going to be about, but then as well as additional resources. Again, free of charge, why not sign up for it? So just reach out to our email that you see here. And other than that, that is it for today. So thank you again so much.
Sorry, Alicia, we do have one question in the chat.
Yeah.
She would like to know, what does diversity training include, and can you please elaborate?
Of course. So diversity training, we'd want to meet with you and see where kind of there are some gaps and knowledge that you might want to learn about. Diversity training can be online or in person. And we'd probably do a PowerPoint with it. And we'd go over, obviously, not just disability, but also different diversities within the work environment. It's kind of briefly what we'd go over. I hope that gives a bit of a better idea.
And then Nikki would like to know, are we able to get a copy of the slides? Yes, Nikki, we actually send the link out to the presentation. It will be put on our YouTube channel. And so it usually takes a couple of days at minimum to get that out to everyone. And then you're able to do that. If you email our EIA email, we can also send you a copy of the slides. Camilo is asking, are the services free? Yes, all of our services are free.
They sure are. So why not take advantage if you need them, and we can meet you where you're at.
Awesome.
Well, if there's no other questions, I think we might end this Zoom meeting. So thank you again so much for joining me today. And we hope to see you next month for our next presentation.